Hey everybody, how's it going? We got some 5v5 Grand Arena coming back, so it's time to talk about the best teams for offense, defense, and then flex teams to help jog everyone's memory because it's easy to forget in between seasons what you did last time. And just fair warning, this is more of an end game perspective. That is where I play in Grand Arena. So mid game, end game, this is probably more for you guys. Early game, I'm not talking about the most basic squads out there. But I do have Datacrons in mind for a lot of things. A lot of the offense, defense, and flexible team compositions, like where you use those same teams, vary from season to season because of Datacrons. So I am keeping that in mind. So let's get into the best squads. And as per usual, I'm going to start out with the 5v5 offensive teams, move on to defense, and then talk about flex. And flex is kind of where a lot of the strategy comes in. A lot of the best teams are in flex because they could go either way, offense or defense. But if there's a specific reason that it's foolhardy to put something on defense, even though it's great, I'm going to put it here. And two great examples are Jabba and Leia. So Jabba has a really easy counter for most people, and that is Afra. So it's all kind of in the same frame here. Afra Datacron, which a lot of people, most people in Kyber 1, a lot of Kyber 2 even have this, and the Datacron just completely works Jabba. So Jabba, if you set him, unless you're tricky and get somehow draw Afra on the front wall and you have Jabba in the back, it's going to be a cheap counter to an otherwise super valuable team. And then Leia, I am putting it as an offensive-only team this season, the first time, not just because their Datacron's gone, but because the Jabba Datacron is a pretty hard counter to Leia, and then also because we have a Mon Mothma team with Biggs that is running circles around Leia because she doesn't have any anti-turn meter fail safes. So if you get a full turn meter train going, they can run circles to kill her and then take out the rest. There's not too many teams that vulnerable to that. No dark side teams, right? I'll talk about it later, but her and like JML are the most vulnerable to turn meter loops. So I'm putting her on offense or recommending her. R2 and Drogon, core 3, always going to want them together. And then I'm going to give the nod to Kanan and Old Ben because a lot of the combos I'd used before, like Baze is going with his buddy Chirrut, and Han and Chewie, the so-called toxic Leia team, is just bad value at this point. So I think it's, and also I'm using L3 with Phoenix instead of Kanan in some cases. So it just makes sense to have Old Ben and Kanan. The Jedi Rebel tank is baked into her kit. But you could just make it work as needed. There's plenty of other options. Mon Mothma was a good option. Captain Rex if you're not going to use Phoenix. Lots of stuff. And Afra, like I already said, kills Jabba pretty easily. It's just a really dominant counter. You either want B2 in there or Imperial Probe Droid for the buff Dispel and Chrysanthemum, or both. I'm probably going to use both, and that's going to be really nice. Omicron's not needed for that, but it's just a nice little boost when you have it. Supreme Lord Kylo Ren, I still think, for my purposes, what I'm talking about is an offense-only GL. Like, yes, if you're in, like, Carbonite or Bronzium and barely anyone has GLs, yes, it's going to get holds on defense. Someone, like, always feels the need to call that out in a video. Slicker gets holds. Like, what are you talking about? So, no. He's offense-only. He's pretty much a sitting duck to a few non-GL comps, like Revan and Jedi Knight Luke, although I don't know if with Doubt that changes things. Doubt, I don't know, can cover a multitude of shortcomings, so we'll see. They are all dark side. They could benefit from Doubt. So I think you could use them on offense with the full First Order team if you want. Sometimes just a solo works. This comp is kind of a Leia counter comp, and you might make it work against other things. Just 3 stacks of Beskar armor on Supreme Leader Kylo, you're going to take down a lot of stuff, and then just give him a tank. Grand Admiral Thrawn is here. You want Thrawn a little slower than armor, so like you got to factor in the speed boost from the leadership since he's dark side. So Thrawn like 31 speed or so slower than armor. So after armor gets the 3rd stack, Thrawn can switch back. So that's just an idea there. Jedi, we got JMK. I'm gonna say it's a no-go on Lord Vader for the most part, because Lord Vader is gonna be rocking Doubt. If it's not, then JML is pretty much fair game to take on a Lord Vader team. But with Doubt, the turn meter is not flowing, the buffs aren't going around, you're not charging ultimate. It's a lot harder to deal with. However, JMK is actually a pretty good target for JML. if people do place JMK, which is not a bad idea. Placing JMK isn't not a bad idea. And they're going to have a no revive Quran. JMK is actually a great counter. You need Revan in there to mark Cat. Jenny Luke to stun people after JMK does his ultimate after his 2-turn ultimate for some reason because he's dumb. I don't have Jolie in here because most people will be setting anti-revive Quran for Scoundrels, which is the way to go if you're playing it quote-unquote correctly. They could also make good use of set 13, but without set 13, it's more vulnerable to like Java and stuff and some other things. But JML can eat the insta-kill from Cat, and then they don't have any good stats, so you can roll over them. The other Jedi comp I'll probably use in 5v5 is if I see Malgus, we're going to use Jedi Knight Cal under a Bastila lead, and then our best Jedi left, which I think is going to be Mace Windu, Jolie in there as a failsafe, and then Shaak Ti as a nice facilitator. Mace is great for Shatterpoint things if we have like a Malik over there that needs to be whittled down. So it just depends. So the Eternal Emperor, a JMK type counter, I don't know if you need one here. You really want Armorer. So you can run GBA in there and a Sith tank, so Sith Empire Troopers, pretty much the main way to go. If you get 3 stacks of armor on JMK, if they're running like a set 12 and they have crappy stats, you're more likely to survive. Otherwise, just set the Eternal with Wat Tam border is the way to go. Like just to counter a non-GL or even a GL like JML or something, it's pretty good value. Lord Vader, so I have a Lord Vader Maul split here. So if you're going to take him on offense, it's something to consider splitting up Maul with him. So without Maul, he's not going to take out the best stuff. Like I wouldn't throw him against a Jabba or anything like that. But you can take out like A-tier teams that aren't Galactic Legends. Don't go against the Bo-Katan if you see one. Darth Vader's pretty easy shoe in here instead of Maul. We don't have any Ufus, so you can slot in one as you see fit. Like maybe for Admiral Piet is probably a way to go. But Piet does help Mark Lord Vader have some act as a tank. But especially if you're facing an unaligned Force user team, you want at least one dark side unaligned Force user to reduce their damage through Lord Vader's lead. And then Maul is an even more fun team, especially if you see a JMK that doesn't have the no revive. Maul's going to just gut them, run them through. You want Django to be the healthiest so he has the pre-taunt at the beginning because he can come back. Then when you get going, it's just off to the races. Canderous, Imperial Super Commando, and Gar are the main core. Django, I think, is the easy shoe-in as the 5th. And he also has great damage. I mean, you want just Dark Side Commandos. This is a really fun team. There's other stuff it can handle. I don't have a full list right now, but it's a pretty fun team. If you don't need it, combine it with Lord Vader, and you can take out bigger fish to fry, such as Jabba or something. So the Phoenix, I'm not sure what to do with him this season. This is the Reva counter, but if there's a Reva Doubtcron, which there probably will be for a lot of people, it's not really going to work well. You're better off using them against a light side team. And I have L3 here, so if you're not facing Reva like that, you sub in Kanan just for the normal team, and then you kind of call an audible. So it's easy to split up with Leia and Phoenix because you're going to have both on offense. It's not like you're going to set a crucial piece on defense that you can't get to. So it just depends. Really, still great team. I mean, Captain Rex is a Rebel fighter. Get the protection up Kron on them. They're still going to be pretty awesome. Bad Batch, just classic team. I just did a video all about Bad Batch. I have Omega in there. You could run Shaak Ti, or you could run like Commander Cody, or even a 501st clone or something. But they take out a lot of B-level teams. So I'm not going to believe at that point more. They're old news, but great news. Not really news, but they're great. And this is the Biggs team I was talking about. So this just completely rolls over Lord Vader. Most people will have seen Arnold make a video on it. I've tested it myself without rebotting Biggs or anything. I don't know what mods they even have on Biggs. He's, yeah, plus 60 speed. It didn't matter. Like, you don't need good mods on him because, like, once he generates 100% turn meter when he gets crit or hit by an Empire enemy, and then they're off to the races. This is the turn meter generation team. Like, Kyle Katarn gets a boost at the start. Pow has his Frenzy, Hoth Rebel Scout. His basic is generating TM. So the Datacron, like whenever anyone attacks during Biggs' turn, they get 25% turn meter. So, and it's a perfect loop pretty much. It's amazing. So I might actually be using Mon Mothma this season. It's great. Iron Versio, if you don't have Dark Trooper Moff Gideon, and plenty of people probably don't, you want to run Death Trooper and range are pretty basic for Iden. Like they work really well with her. Short Trooper or a tank, Stormtrooper, just a tank in there. Scout Trooper is the best if you have her. There's other options too, like Magma. Just if you have no Dark Trooper Moff Gideon, but it is probably mainly an offensive team and with good anti-rebel synergy. And then anti-Empire synergy, we got Admiral Raddus. You can slot in like another tank if needed. Actually, I went ahead and changed that because I had Baze there before, but Baze you're going to want to run with Saw Gerrera and Chirrut. If you have that Data Crown, which is a must-have, go and try and get it if you don't already this conquest. But yeah, you want a tank in there to help. Cassian's a great slot in. Biston can be good. It just depends what you have the most developed. Biston is, you automatically have him if you got Profundity. So, and then Bounty Hunters, I think this is more and more just like a clean counter to like a B-level team or a team that you want to prevent revives on, like Night Sisters, or like if people are still setting Raddus. Just fair warning, like the Fennec lead counter to Lord Vader is not good anymore from like a standstill. Like if you are just countering out the gate, it's probably gonna fail. It's a cleanup team. Like you do it against a lone Lord Vader or a Lord Vader in a tank left or something, but you don't want to try Fennec Shan lead against Lord Vader straight away, especially now with doubt to it. Like it's bad. Like the win rates are under 20%. It's just don't do it. Then we got Wampa. For me, he's mainly a cleanup guy right now. Like, and he's even better if it's just a solo character left. So he's not completely useless, but there's not much I can take out with him straight away. Imperial Troopers, we have the Empire Crons, and I think the buff level 6 is going to help them make a more perfect turn meter loop. It's just the standard lineup. We still get to use Dark Trooper with Veers because Dark Trooper Moff Gideon gets his own Dark Trooper that's summoned out of nothing. Moff Gideon's not going to be here, so that's probably going to be Stark if you have Dark Trooper Moff Gideon. But then you want to give range. Imperial Troopers, they're getting pulled in a lot of different directions, and there's not enough to go around, so there's going to be some decisions to make there. And then Night Sisters, I don't like them on defense at all, because I think they're really easy targets for Bounty Hunters, and Bounty Hunters aren't getting tons of use elsewhere. Of course, they do have like that Jabba counter. I'm not the one to talk to about that, but I think on offense is the way to go. Doc and Zombie can go with Slicker or sit the Eternal Emperor if need be for certain counters, so it's just good to have them on offense. On defense, I don't think they're going to trip anyone up. Gidme, still a thing. Again, most people, if you don't have Dark Trooper Moff Gideon, if you do, you definitely want Moff Gideon with him. So he's a great character. He's very popular. A lot of people want to hang out with him. But Gidme, it's, you know, like if you don't know how it works at this point, just Google the search for a Gidme video. Zareth has good ones about it. I haven't talked about it too much, but yeah, it's crazy. It just melts people that aren't like Calorana Master or something. Hux lead First Order. I haven't used this in forever. It's a great anti-turn meter. One good use would be for Afra. So her first turn at the beginning, it seems like a bonus turn, but it's actually 100% turn meter. So Hux shuts that off, and you get tons of extra speed if you have the FOTP Omicron. Then you can just do his full send and kill Afra right away, as long as there's no pre-taunting tank. So a niche use there, and also like a pretty good cleanup if you have someone that just needs to take a lot of damage. I have Qui-Gon here. I think Plo Koon is a good option, and I have Ayla here just because others are going to be used up a lot. The absolute best combo is General Kenobi and Ahsoka Tano, but that is really expensive for people if they have JMK, which a lot of people that I'm making this video for do. And then if you don't have like Ki-Adi-Mundi, if you're like a low-level player like Carbonite Bronze or something, you just probably want Qui-Gon with Omicron, even if he's weak, just with Anakin and a bunch of weak stuff. Arnold does that with his smaller account, and it works well. And then last two are Separatists. Geonosians are a cleanup for Rey at this point. In my opinion, offense only, or GBA is just a floating pre-taunting tank that can revive. And then General Grievous, if you're bringing it on offense, you want Newt Gunray. I think that's the way to go. Newt dying and coming back gives an extra shot of ammunition to General Grievous's bonus turns. There's not tons of use for this as much anymore. It was able to beat Starkiller back in the day, a JML that had already wasted its best specials. So I don't know too much what I'm going to use with it, but I probably will use B2 just with Afra. And that is all the offensive teams. Moving on to defensive squads. The only GL I have firmly in the defense only camp, and this is the smallest section. Defense only is way smaller than flex or offense. Is Ray. I don't have the only Ufu comp anymore because I think they want to go with Seer. So back to like recommending the sortie lineup with Barris. I think you want like obviously the protection up level 3, but then as much crit avoidance as you can get. It's gonna be really a pain to deal with. I mean, especially if people are still trying to do Star Killer, but even like stuff like Malicos, which is I'm doing a lot. The crit avoidance could cause a big problem. Of course, with Barris there, I mean, like the crits help heal up, but it's still worth it to have crit avoid. Gonna be a real big pain to deal with. I don't think the only reason to take her on offense is really for Mirror, and I think Malicos is a good enough counter. But it depends. Dark Trooper Moff Gideon, last season I had him flex because I was like, okay, or maybe I had him just offense only last 5v5, but with his level 9 Datacron plus like doubt and like offense, defense to offense that applies to him himself as well, and that summon Dark Trooper is just insane. Like, put it on defense, make your opponent deal with it. It's a huge pain. I'm not looking forward to having to come up against that. Just a monster team. And I think they're a great candidate for high relics too. If people are looking for projects, like I took Moff Gideon to R8 for the raid, but then R7 for the others, just because Scout was already there for Leia. But like, it's just such a strong team. Then the Rebel Fighters. There's two main options here. We got a Chirrut team, which is what I'm running. I'm not going to waste the resources on Bodhi Rook because he needs to be under a Rebel Fighter lead, and the only real good one for me is Saw Gerrera. So I'm using Chirrut and base. I have this on defense only. Maybe it'll turn into like flex, or like you should use it on offense because it's like a super solid counter. I'm not totally sure yet. And Cara Dune's a good add in there. Kyle Katarn's an option if you don't end up using Mon Mothma, or you don't think you're gonna need it. It's kind of hard. You have to decide ahead of time if you're gonna be doing that. But then a substitute. I don't know. It's up to you. Just another Rebel Fighter. Tuskens, as long as they have their Datacron, great on defense. If you don't have the right Datacron, they're almost better on offense just because they're a great counter to Terminator teams. And then Treya with Savage, I still think this is one of the best defensive teams out there. Even better than most GLs, because most GLs, you have like a plan in place. These guys are just such a pain. I think you definitely want doubt, and then you either want crit avoidance or deflection. Crit avoidance is probably good. Treya already gives a lot of crit avoid, but it'll make them even harder to deal with. Just a phenomenal team, and it continues to be so. On offense, I think you're not going to get the best value out of them compared to defense. And then Trench, it can actually be good on defense. I would recommend it as a top wall team. So like, or potentially back wall. Just like put it where people might run up against it if they are running out of resources. And if you want it on defense, the only way to go is putting Wat Tambor on it. So I don't really recommend it that much. Otherwise, it's a pretty good cleanup team. Like, it cleans up Rey very well, or like potentially a solo Leia. So I think like save the Wat and then bring the rest of these guys on offense. But if you have Wat, it goes on defense. Next we have the Zori team, and I actually just did this today. I applied the Rose Tico Omicron because I have a few Omicrons sitting around. Guess we're gonna have Bane come out, but I don't know if I'm gonna apply all of them. Who knows how long until I get Bo-Katan. So I was like, this team is not going away from me. Like, this is a pretty stalwart defensive team. Her Omicron adds a lot of turn meter. If you don't have her Omicron, it's better to use just OG Poe, and that's what I had done up to this point. But yeah, looking forward to it. I remodded her, gave her a little bit better mods, so we'll see. Droids. So sortie droids is kind of being phased out. It's kind of a thing in the past. However, it can still work for some people. I mean, if you don't have like Rey, or you're not I don't know, making use of sortie some other way. She's annoying, kind of a plug and play character. Well, you want BDB8. Actually, R2D2 shouldn't be there. There we go. I replaced him with more apt L337. Because I mean, it really depends where you're at. If you don't have Leia, yes, R2D2 can go in there. Lobot, no Zeta, so he's easy throw in there. Not that great, just can draw out a Wampa, and then Wampa will have trouble finishing off sortie in the end. Then I'm a big fan of Dash on defense still, especially with Hondo, and the cooldown reset especially. IG can help protect. Queel, it's just a shoe in there. Hondo, if they don't even get to him fast enough, he's gonna ramp and go off. Dash is a threat. Nest is kind of a don't use CLS here threat. That's how I like using that there. Alternatively, you could run Bam with Dash instead of Nest, but make him the fastest, which is kind of hard to do. But if you make him the fastest, he can go into his Whistling Bird stance right away and Dash just as AoE gets it fully charged, and that's going to hit really hard. So I'm probably not going to do that, but it's an option. And then I put this on defense as well, but like just a bunch of tanks and short trooper. If you have the defense offense cron, this could stop a Wampa. So maybe I should have more aptly put her in the flex category, but yeah. These two are pretty much filler at this point. I don't think, unless you have crazy relic 8s, 9s on your Wookiees, they're not that great a value. Bad Batch can handle them pretty easily without their Wookiee crons. But it's just if you have it. Son of Staros is other filler if you don't have a good Saw team. Too much about that. And then Kellerbeck if you have it. Like, I'm not there yet. I just got him to 5 stars. Once I get him to relics, I look forward to using this team a lot, especially on defense. Anakin and Ki-Adi-Mundi are definitely shoe-ins. And I think Mace and Shaak Ti are great 4th and 5th as well. Great control and tank operations. And then if you do want to put Grievous on defense, I think you have to do BB-8 just so they're not super vulnerable to Bad Batch. I mean, everything is kind of like, oh, Bad Batch can beat that back. Well, you can't use Bad Batch for everything, but still a threat. And most people I face have mostly Bad Batch proof walls. But if you do defense, throw BB-8 in there. With R2 going to Leia, and you're probably not, and sort of going to Rey, like you can give up BB-8 at this point. So yeah, that is defensive squads. Moving on to flex teams, this is more of the cream of the crop. And I was actually mistaken. I have fewer teams in the flex than the defense category at this point. Like, look how big this bar is here. Defense smaller. There's more teams, which is a first for me. And most of that has to do with teams flowing into the offense only category. Like for this season with Leia and Jabba there, like those are two. Normally they're flex, like they can go either way. It's just like there's too many cheap counters to them, so they put them on offense only. So I think we got like 10 or so teams in this flex. Starting with JMK, no revive cron. Otherwise, you're more of a sitting duck to like Reva, Dark Trooper, maybe not Dark Trooper, Moff Gideon, Maul, Jabba, which Jabba would be, if you can draw a Jabba, that'd be probably good value. But yeah, no revive is going to be where it's at, just to prevent a bunch of things. Lord Vader, I'd only put it on defense if your opponent has no Bo-Katan. If they do have Bo-Katan, don't do it. Keep it for offense, and that's, I already talked about him in offense category. But if you have on defense, I think the way to go, you have to have Maul. Royal Guard is good. Darth Vader, it could be Darth Vader, it could be another tank like Ninth Sister, and then Thrawn is in there for a nice Terminator swap. Also the aforementioned Bo-Katan, for the chosen few that have her. It's a couple thousand now. She is going to be taking out Lord Vader's, but a lot of people are going to wise up and not put Lord Vader on defense because she is so effective against it, and then put her on defense, and she is a pain as well. I mean, like the bonus turn and the insta-kills on people with no protection, it's something to be scared of. So I think she is going to be quite strong on defense as well. Just either way, she's just a dynamo of a team right now with her Datacron. And then the Seer team, it kills Rey. One variant to mention is you could run, instead of Kylo Ren amassed, you could do Maul. And then that is going to help take out the peskier Rey comps. Like if they have, especially General Kenobi, if people have him with Rey, and then like a baby Cal over there, you want the extra damage from Maul, buff immunity, and so on and so forth. So that's a really strong team, but I don't know. This has just been rolling over Rey's for me for the last season. And I think some before that, in the season before that, just really strong. I don't know exactly which Datacron you want. Like, it's between like Doubt, because you got 2 dark side characters and the protection up. Probably Doubt, because that would be more useful to prevent buffs on the other side and turn meter gain. And then the protection up, they already get a lot of protection up survivability. It's not going to protect Malikos, who's your main asset. So I think probably Doubt on a level 3 is the way to go. And then like Crit Avoid, Deflection potentially because Ben solo does special damage. Of course, you're only really going to dodge his special unless you can, I don't know if you can dodge basic. Anyway, Crit Avoidance is pretty good there. Tenacity maybe Potency just because you need to debuff Ray. It's a few options. It's not super critical which actual data card you use. Art stacking damage for Dark Side from a set 12 is also an option. And then Riva, just amazing with Doubt. Like the cheap counter in Phoenix is going to be all but shut down. I think it's just going to be completely shut down by Doubt on this team. And then it's just a force to be reckoned with. It's super strong defense, can demolish on offense. Just look out. It's gonna be a big thing. Still recommend at least the lead Omicron for all that death mark. Then for CLS, you want protection up across the whole team. I'm just going back to a standard CLS team. Last season we ran Drogon. I don't think that's a good idea anymore. There's no Drogon Kron for double bonus turns at the beginning. But defense, they're probably better on offense at this point. Defense, they could be good. I think put them in the front. Dare them to use something cheap, like front bottom. Dare them to use something cheap on it, and then they could mess up. I think Tenacity is a good add here. Protection Up is the best, but also they can actually make good use of the Amplify Agony type level 3, where it's extra damage per debuff, because they are a debuff heavy team. But I still go with the survivability. Just make them that more pesky. And Gas, you want I'd still say Protection Up for him, just for when he goes down. Harder to chew through the clones, either offense or defense. On offense, it might be good against Ray. Like, people keep saying, oh, you should try it against Ray. I'm always more hesitant because of Ben's Omicrons, especially his Force Dyad, making it more difficult. But I think you want Potency. That's the best stat for them, just so you can land the days. Also a Maul with Gar Saxon can beat it pretty well without that. And CLS, and yeah. I don't like Rex with them. I might change on that if I can't find a use for Phoenix. But I think it's kind of expensive. If you do put Rex, I'd probably replace Echo. I think Arc is really good there with the constant dispels. And Starkiller, this is still a flex team. I don't like it for Ray. I don't at all. Some people can make it work. Maybe it just be honest developed Ray teams that you have a better chance against. But look out for Crit Avoid. Look out for Tenacity. I think you want Doubt level 3 for sure. And then there's a turn meter 1 for Empire. Has to do with Protection Up. I think that's the way to go. Old Ben, just a Jedi tank here. You could do Maze. You could do Juhani. Is probably the worst option there. You could do Plo Koon. Just a Jedi tank here is all that matters, just so you can get the taunt in damage immunity. Malgus is going to be pretty valuable wherever you put him. If you put him on defense or offense. On defense, you pretty much have to use a Galactic Legend or Jedi Cal. So there's room to get a big draw out of him on defense. On offense, I think he's a pretty decent counter to potentially Riva. If they have too much offense, it's not really going to work. Or it might work. I mean, GAC, he has his Omicron's active. Most of my experience is doing in TW. But also, you can beat a Malko's team with it. So I might end up taking it on offense a couple times this season. I've always loved it on defense, though. Scoundrel's Dash, when you have Vandor, I think you take it on offense. It's also pesky on defense, so that's just why I have it here. I've already talked about him enough, so not going to belabor it too much. And then this is if you have no JMK. If you still don't have JMK, but you do have Cats, which I think is probably a rare situation, this team is just incredible. Cat is really just the crown jewel of that JMK team. It's what makes it what it is. And then if you put it on Padme, it's still amazing. Plus 50% health, offense, crit damage, and stuff defense, I think. Just really juices up the team, supercharges them, and they can beat a JMK. So it's just an amazing team. That is it for our flex teams. Yeah, that is it for today. All our squads, offense, defense, or flex. Hopefully I didn't forget anything or miss much. There's some comps where I'm not really putting in because I don't really take them seriously. Like a Jedi training Ray lead resistance team, for example, doesn't really have that much of a place anymore. But I hope you learned something. If I forgot something, let me know. Thanks so much for watching, and good luck this season.